artist friends. Today we're going to be drawing a few little houseplants. Now I've chosen 3 houseplants to start with, but you can always kind of edit or change which ones you choose depending on maybe what you have around where you live. But we're going to be drawing a snake plant today, a Japanese bird's nest fern, and a dracaena tree. So we're going to keep that pretty simple so we can draw just those specific kinds of plants, because we might be able to draw a plant, but we may not know what kind it is. So we're going to really hone in on which kinds of plants we're making today. So we're going to start with a small version of our Japanese bird's nest fern. So we're going to give it a little pot to live in, so you can change what your pot looks like, but I'm going to keep mine pretty simple as maybe like a small rectangle. So 2 little parallel lines like this, and then come across to connect. And then lastly, I'm going to have a little line at the top here for my Japanese bird's nest fern to live in. Now, a Japanese bird's nest fern actually has more of a wiggly edge. So we're going to start by making the center line of our leaf and then draw a wavy line all the way down on one side, a wavy all the way down on the other side. And these particular kinds of plants grow in clusters. So that means we're going to have a few of these plants together, or a few of these leaves rather, that are kind of coming out together. So a long line, a little wiggle, and you can even try overlapping some, where some are in front of the other plants and then the other one gets tucked behind, so you'd only be able to see a few little lines from it. You can even make some of your lines kind of come down in front of your planter. So if you want to try doing that, you can too. Okay, so real quick, I filled up my pot. Remember, it was a line in the middle, maybe a gentle curve, and then a wave on one side and a wave on the other, until you feel like your little container is filled for our Japanese bird's nest fern. Next, we're going to make a little dracaena tree. And a dracaena tree actually has different spikes that come off of one column, kind of like almost like a palm tree a little bit, but slightly different. So now I'm going to draw the container that it's in, and I think I'm going to make it a little bit rounded this time at the side like this. So 2 rounded edges, gentle C's, and make a little curving line on the bottom here. And lastly, a curving line on the top here. And for my dracaena tree, I'm going to start by making 2 skinny parallel lines next to each other. And then I kind of go to town and make a bunch of skinny little spikes. So we come up and then close to it, down, up, close to it, down, up, close to it, down. And then I can even fill in some little spikies in these open windows, these open spaces, until I've got this like super spiky dracaena. It's pretty sweet. Okay, that's the first one, but most times in pots where they're growing, they actually have multiple little tree stems. So I'm gonna make a second one, but this one will be taller. So 2 skinny parallel lines, and again, same thing, skinny, like a skinny little football, up and back, up and back. So my lines are close together, and then I can come back and fill in my designs with some little ones. So I might just want to do a few in these itty bitty little windows just to help fill my space. Cool, I think that looks awesome. I'm also, because I can see part of my pot here, it's got this curved edge, I'm also gonna make a line behind it. So I'm gonna draw till I hit that little trunk, draw till I hit the trunk, and then come back on the other side. So now it looks like they're in that little pot. And I could try to do this too, but technically I kept mine pretty straight on the top of this one, so it's a little harder to see. Okay, the last kind of plant we're going to try drawing today is something called a snake plant. And a snake plant has these thick leaves that sort of curve and twist like seaweed underwater. So now I'm going to draw my planter for my snake plant, and I think I'm going to give this one more of a tall container. So he's got 2 gently curving edges. So again, they're not quite parallel lines, but they're coming in towards each other just a little bit. And then to give us that illusion or the trick that we can see the edge of our pot, we're going to have that curve and then make our lines come out from the inside. And again, a gentle curve here. And then I'm going to draw my snake plant lines. So this is just a super gentle wave, kind of like it was taking a little wave on an ocean wave, right? I'm doing a gentle little wave and coming back down. Again, waving up, some taller than others, gentle wave, and coming back down. Remember, we can make some that overlap over the top of each other. So maybe this one kind of comes sideways. This little one here comes down a little bit further, and try doing some gentle waves that go in different directions. The cool thing about snake plants is that they're pretty sturdy, which means they don't really flop down out of a container, but instead they stand tall and proud. Now, when we color them in, I'll show you a few tricks to color them in, but I did notice that one of my lines goes down a little bit further. So something you could do is to decorate your pots with different kinds of designs, and that might help to make some spots that you had drawn that you maybe aren't super loving the way they look. You can kind of fix those. Now I just added that there and you can't even tell that I had something there. So that's a little trick, is if you make a mistake with a marker and you want to try editing it, you can just go ahead and edit or change as you work and try to turn that mistake into something you love. Now I've got my plants here, my Japanese bird's nest fern, my snake plant, and my dracaena here, and I'm going to now make it so that they are not floating in space, but instead living on a surface. So as we know, the way to do that is to draw a horizon line. And we remember the horizon line is where the sky and the earth meet. Or again, in this situation, where we have the planters sitting on the tabletop surface. So I'm going to draw my horizon line right about here. And remember, it goes behind my leaves or behind my planters. It's going to come out the other side. So we kind of practice drawing where that line is and come back down. And you could go all the way off the edge of your page, but I'm going to keep it just simple like this. And you're welcome to decorate either of these two sides, but I'm going to keep mine pretty simple. Now, a Japanese bird's nest fern tends to be a little bit more of a lime green. A snake plant has lots of different varieties, some that are really dark, some that are what we call variegated, where they have light spots and dark spots. So I'm going to make mine with a really light, almost lime green along the edge and dark in the middle. And again, dracaena trees also have a lot of variety. So I'm going to make mine the dark green version with maybe just a hint of a red. So now, my friends, it is time to color. I sure had some fun coloring this in and experimenting with these sort of gray shadows on the bottom here. Remember, the kinds of plants that we drew were a Japanese bird's nest fern, a snake plant, and a dracaena tree. My friends, I hope you enjoyed drawing today and really letting your creativity run wild. Remember, you are strong, you are amazing, you are resilient, and I love you. We'll see you next time.